Okay, and hello and welcome. My name is Martin, and today we're going to be picking up from Project 9 menu and adding an additional menu. And in this menu, as opposed to adding different buttons, what I wanted to do was in the last tutorial, we created a menu, but it had a black background so that we could only see the buttons. In this one, we're going to create a second menu, and we're going to create it inside of a scene, inside of a level, and with some, with something in the background moving around. So we'll have a more decorative, more aesthetically pleasing opening level view, and we will actually connect these two menus together, as well as making sure that we don't see the health bar and all the other stuff that we got rid of in the other level. So let's go ahead and start. So we're going to right click on this and we're going to hit copy, and we're going to paste this down here at the bottom, and let's go ahead and rename this. Let's call it Project 9b, and instead of menu copy, we'll call it let's call it connecting menus. Okay, so connecting menus, plural. Okay, let's double click in there, and in here I don't really want to make this any longer, so all I'm just going to do is call it Project B menu. Okay, so let's double click in there and go ahead and open. So we're going to do some copying and pasting. There's no need to create a whole new level and do all that other good stuff. So there's two things that we need to copy and paste. The first one is going to be a copy of level 1 of the map itself, the level 1 map, and then the other thing will be the main menu widget. We will also need to make a copy of that. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to right click and we're going to duplicate, and this one I'm going to call it 2 so that I know that it's the second one. And on the level map, let's right click on that and duplicate, and here we will call this main menu map 2. So then that way this and this will match as far as the names are concerned, so it'll be easier to pull them up, remember which ones belongs to which. Now from here, we would still have all the information that we had for the level 1 map. So let's click on it and go to blueprint setting. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go to main map first. Yes, we want to save those. Main map first. And in here, let's go ahead and copy all the information from this. So let's go to blueprints. Let's go to open blueprints. And we have what was taking us to the viewport, or what was creating the information that took us to the viewport. So let's hit Control C to copy. We could go ahead and close this, and let's add this to the second map. So double click on the second map, go to its blueprint, and these were the information for how to go through the level, whether our character died or not. Now that's not going to happen here, so we can go ahead and grab this and delete both of those pieces of code, and let's click somewhere on the screen and then Control V to paste the information for the widget. So we shouldn't have to do anything else. I mean, this is the main widget which is going to generate the buttons for us, so this is good. So let's go ahead and compile and save. So we should close this, and we should be able to go into main menu map 2 now and double click in there and see the buttons. So let's go ahead and push play, and we get the 2 buttons that are there. Now the only problem is that obviously we can move around in the level. So this might be something interesting that you want to do. You might want to have the character be able to move around in some kind of a weird environment like this. And then still have the 2 buttons there available for them to push and play on. The other thing could be, so instead of doing this, what we want to do is we want to disattach the camera that's attached to the first player and create a second camera inside of this map, and then disassociate the camera from the first player. So I'm going to hit stop, And let's go ahead and create a secondary camera. And what I'm also going to do is create a scene for my blocks or for my camera to look at. So let's, I'm going to use this area here, and let's go ahead and make sure that you are on main map too. You don't want to be doing this in your level. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's move this out of the way. And let's push this up so then that way when we look up at this. All right. And I'm going to leave these two in here as the representations of the cubes. We might put some materials on there to dress them up. But first we need to go into cinematic. We need to grab a cinema camera actor. We're going to put that on stage. And with it selected, I can see what it's actually looking at. So, you know, that's kind of an interesting view. If I wanted to, let's say, maybe push it up, so then that way we get kind of this weird angled, I don't like that. Let's see, something like this. Let's push the camera back. Oh, I don't. Let's push the camera back. Okay, let's say I kind of like that angle. So out of this camera, we're going to see that. Now with this camera still selected, we are going to go into blueprints, open level blueprint, and we are going to want to right click somewhere on the event graph, and you'll see because you have the camera selected, it'll say create a reference to Cinema Camera Actor 1. So we do want that. From there, the next thing that we're going to need is we're going to need to create two things off of the event play. So let's go ahead and type in sequence. So then that way we get our sequence, and we're going to disattach this and we're going to connect that to the second node. So let's break that and let's reattach it to the second node. And from here, what we want to do is drag off of there and type in set view target with blend. So let's see if we can get rid of this and view target. There it is. So if you get rid of the context sensitive, you will see set view target with blend. So that's what we need. We are going to attach the cinema actor to the new view target. So that is going to be the new thing that we're going to be viewing out of. And the target itself needs to be the get player controller. So get player controller. Okay. So then that way it'll be our first person character or our first person player that gets to see through this camera. All right, so we can go ahead and hit compile and save, and if we close now and push play, we'll see that we actually get this as the as our view, right? So again, we have the problem with the health bar, and we have the problem, and we probably are hearing the gunshots in the background, and we are seeing a little bit of that heads-up display poking through that little red that you can see there at the top. So let's go ahead and go to our first-person character, and let's get this fixed because that's where those elements are. So let's right-click on click on Content, go to First-Person Character, Blueprints, and open up the first-person character blueprint. Now the information for the HUD is right here. Let me actually stop the simulation real quick. And so the code right now says main menu map. Now, what we're going to assume is that we have multiple menus and that we're going to want to go from one menu to another menu. And if that's the case, we don't want this HUD or this health bar showing up in any of those menus, right? We don't want them showing up until we actually get into the game. So what we're going to need to do is to create another one of these conditions. So we will need to create another one of these, another one of the if the name equals this, then if it doesn't equal this, then give us the display. So let me move this out of the, let me just make a little bit of space. So we're going to move that out of the way. We're going to leave the conditional branch that's going to be there, but off of the get name, we now want to create another one of these name conditions. So we could right click on this, hit Control C, and click over here and hit Control V. So now we've got another one of these. And since both of my maps are called main menu map and then main menu map 2, I'm just going to go ahead and type in 2 on the end of this one. We should be able to connect multiple things to this return value string. And then from there, now the problem that we're going to have with this is that the Boolean only accepts one input. So watch what happens. If I try to connect both of these to the Boolean, it's going to accept one and then disconnect the other, right? So if I try to click this one, it's going to disconnect that. So what I want to do is create a Boolean and condition, right? So then that way it will actually take multiple Booleans at the same time. So let me move that up so that's just a little bit nicer. And we're going to right click in the area here and we're going to type in B-O-O-L Boolean. And we are going to want this to be the AND Boolean. With that, notice that we can attach multiple pins. So if we had a third menu or another screen that we did not want this health bar to show up on, we could also attach that to here. So let's add the first one. Let's add the second one. And I don't need that third pin that I created, so I'm going to remove that pin. And then from the output of the AND condition, I'm going to bring that to the branch. So this should now work. We should be able to go into main map, the main menu map, the first one we created with no background, and we should now be able to go into the second one that we created with, with the more aesthetic background, and both should work. So let's hit compile and save and play, and let's close this. And our health bar is missing. So we would then repeat this for the gunshot or the projectile sound and also for that little red display. So we're going to go back here. I'm going to grab this piece of the code. Let me hit stop simulation. So I need to grab this piece of the code because that's the part that I need. And yeah, I'm just going to grab that, hit Control C. And since we're already still in the first person player, we should have down here at the bottom the information for the play sound. So again, I'm just going to move that out of the way. This is the piece of the code that we're going to be replacing this piece. So let me go ahead and delete that. And we're going to right click in the area, click in the area and hit paste. We're going to reattach our values. Okay, and then from there we're going to attach the AND Boolean to the condition, and that should still be here on the play sound. So let's hit compile and save, and let's go and test and see if this is now true. And one more thing, let's do the HUD. So let's open up the first person HUD. There's the same piece of the equation again, or the same piece of the code. We're going to delete that part. We're going to click and paste. We're going to reattach our values. So that to the here, and this one to here, and this one now to the end, end part of that condition. So let's hit compile and save. And we should now have this. So let's go to, we are still in main menu map 2. Let's go ahead and hit play. And we can see that our health bar is missing, which is good. We don't see that little top of the red. And if I click somewhere inside here, we're getting no sound. Let me go ahead and push play. That should take us to 1. And we do, of course, hear my gunshots or the projectile sounds. Now let's go and double check the other map because we did, let's check main map. Okay, so let's save. And then we're going to check this main map. We're going to push play. We do not see the health bar. We do not hear any of the projectile firing sound. and we push play, we do get it in level 1. So everything is working the way that we need that to work. The only other thing, let's see, let's push there. Okay, so before we finish with this, there's a couple of extra things that we need to do. First of all, there's no title for this, so if we push play, we don't see the name of anything. We don't see the name of our game. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to hit stop there, and I already have a text element, so we're going to grab that one. We're going to, once we've selected it, we can go into the world outliner, select it, hit edit, and duplicate. And on the duplicate copy, we can bring that over and hover it in front of that. And while we're doing this, we can actually click on the camera to see what it's going to look like through our camera. Now, obviously, as soon as we move this, it's going to knock us out of the camera. But let's do that. Instead of it being called level 1, let's call it Evil Cubes, which is the name of the game. Evil Cubes, and let's make this a little bit bigger. So underneath world, let's see, text. Don't we have text size somewhere? There we go. We'll just go underneath world size. Okay, we'll click back in the camera, see what that looks like. So it's up a little bit high, so let's grab it and move it down just a little bit. Click on that, grab it, and move it down just a little bit. Okay, cool. So now that's hovering in our screen. Let's go ahead and push play and see what that looks like. Now the buttons look a little bit funny there. They're just underneath that. I think it would look nicer if they happen to be over here on the left-hand side. We might be able to put a little bit more of a graphic here in the middle or do something more interesting with that middle area. To do that, let's go back into MainMan 2 and let's go ahead and save. And oh, okay, because I'm playing right now. So let's double click in main map 2 and go into its blueprint and go into its blueprint editor. And right now, remember that it is still actually grabbing the first main menu widget. So let's grab the second one and make sure that that's the one that's actually going to this one. Let's hit compile and save. And let's close that. So now it's looking at the second widget. And with the second widget, we can now grab each one of these boxes. And actually, let's see if we can grab this box and that box together. And let's see if we can move them over a bit. And now that they're there, let's anchor. This would be anchored to the middle of the screen. Let's make sure that it's anchored to the middle and the left. And let's do that with the same, with the button over here as well. So we're going to feel the middle. Oh, we don't want to split it. What are we doing? Let's grab the whole thing. Find that middle again. There it is. Okay. So those should now be both in the same place. So let's hit compile and save. And let's see where this would show up on our screen. So let's push play. And that's pretty good. They could be moved down a little bit. So let me just go and adjust them quickly. Let's grab them and oh, it's still simulating. So let's hit stop. Let's grab them. Shift, and down we go. So compile, save, and you know what? I actually might want these a little bit more in the middle. Let's see there. Compile, save. And this is a matter of you fidgeting around with this enough to be able to get them in the position that you want. That looks great for me. So that's good. Now, the only other thing with this that we really should consider is our first-person player's character can actually still show up. Let me see if I can get the player character to show up where they're going to be in the area. So let's grab this, let's put them there. So what we're going to do is keep them just slightly off camera. Let's push play. And that's what could happen. You see how the gun, the first person player's gun is actually showing up? And I can still shoot projectiles, and that's a really weird thing to have happen on while you're playing. It doesn't restrict us from pitting and going into our levels, but it is something weird. I mean, you know, we don't want that to actually happen the way it did. So to get that to not happen, what we could do is we could create a barrier for the player to make sure that they can't actually get anywhere or do anything that could compromise us or in the main screen or do anything weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that first person player and let's move them over here into the corner. And let's go into content. So basically we're going to cage the first person character so they can't get out of this area. So let's go into starter content. Let's go, actually, you know what? I can just type in cube map, cube mesh. There it is. Grab one of those, put it on the stage. Let's make this a little bit longer, this a little bit wider. Okay, so no matter what our player does, there's no way for them to show up in our game because now they are locked in a box, right? And the first, no matter how high they jump, they're not going to be able to get out of this box. So we still get our first person character and the mouse. We get the ability to hit the buttons that we want. We don't hear the projectiles anymore. And we have the name of our game on a menu screen that is not just a black and white menu screen. Okay, so in the next tutorial what we're going to do is we're actually going to connect this menu screen to the previous menu screen. We're going to create another button called the back button. We'll pretend like the second menu screen is a like one for like an audio menu screen or an options menu screen, and this way we'll have a menu to menu and then back to the main menu, or main menu to options menu, back to main menu, and then from there main menu to the game, and wonderful. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You have a wonderful day. Bye bye.